Alma Flow podcast. I'm Paola Aeli. I'm a yoga teacher and a mentor in well-being and spirituality. And this podcast is a space where I connect with people who inspire me in a different ways to explore spirituality, purpose, healing, business, and what it really means to create a life that feels aligned from the inside out. Before we begin, I also want to invite you to something very special. This July, I'll be hosting the Alma Flow Retreat in Brazil, an immersive experience bringing together yoga, spirituality, nature, culture, and everything that we explore here in these conversations. If you feel called to reconnect with yourself in a deeper way and level, I'd love to welcome you there. And today I'm really excited because I'm here with Carolina Wilke, and she's the co-founder of Sacred Business Flow, where she helps hard-lady entrepreneurs build successful business from the inside out, along her partner Phil Powers. And she's also the creator of the Radiant Flow, a method that combines movement and nervous system regulation tools to help people build what she calls nervous system capacity, which is the ability to take consistent action towards what truly matters. She's a Brazilian like me, deeply in love with life and mother of two very special beings. Carol, for me, it's really special to have you here. And I also want to thank you because this podcast project has actually existed in my heart for almost 3 years. But it was only after I did the interview with you and Phil for the Sacred Business that I saw how natural we're using this platform, Substack. And I was like, oh, maybe that's the way. So you actually encouraged me to do this. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me, and thank you for sharing your inspiration. I love doing Substack lives. It's it's natural. We say that it's one of the best moments for us during the week. We get to know a lot of cool people doing interesting stuff. So it's very nice that you're doing that. And Claire is Brazilian too. So, oi, Claire. She just joined our chat. And hi, Phil.
Yeah, hi, Claire, Phil, everyone is here. Well, so I'm not very familiar with the comments here, so I'm sorry if I'm not reading the questions, but you're feel free to send me questions if you have. And this podcast is more about, I call podcast because after that I put in all the other platforms and I call them a flow podcast, but it's alive. Hi, Claire. And these interviews that I do with people, it's to understand better how they live their spirituality nowadays. And for the beginning, you as a Brazilian, tell me a little bit, how was your journey with the spirituality since you were born in Brazil? And if you were like Christian, how was that in the religion way? And then you was moving probably towards the more spiritual. How was that for you?
Yeah, my story has a lot of ups and downs in a way. My grandmother was very Catholic, and here in Brazil, the Catholic Church is big. So I had to go and take the church classes. I went to a school that was managed by priests, and I had religion classes at school, but I was very skeptical about everything. And I would question God from the inside out. I'm this idea that God created world in 7 days, that was just crazy for me. And then people going to church. And then at the same time, I had that in my family. So I was doing that thing and taking classes, but I was rejecting that. It just did not make sense for me at all. And then it was just this, I go because I need to go, but I don't agree with that. And I was fighting all the time. And I don't remember exactly the age, but just adding to that, I suffered from headaches my whole life. And I think it has to do with, I need to see to believe. That was my way of being for probably my first 15, 18 years of my life. And then my mom started doing, she was a psychologist, and she started doing a technique that was working with the invisible, that was working with the subconscious, and which is bioenergetics. And then I became a practitioner. But through that technique, I healed my headaches. And that was the time when I'm whoa, there's something more there, because she was touching here and here, and the thing that I was like suffering for 20 years is no longer there. So I start asking different questions, right? So then in that process, I would say I start looking for answers, that it wasn't that like I need to see to believe, because I did not believe in what she was doing, and I got like the most amazing results in my life. So that was kind of like the beginning of my journey. And then I started studying like the invisible, and that led to the technique itself, but then that led to understand that there was way more than just, this. And I remember that was in 2020, I think, that I went to Egypt, and we went to a place that Jesus went there. I don't remember exactly what it was. And I'm like, I felt such a huge expansion in my body. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I hated Jesus in a way, because I was associating Jesus with the Catholic Church for so long. And then I clicked that like, I'm rejecting like a beautiful part of myself, because I label the church as, spirituality and all of that. And then this combined with the bioenergetics and all of that opened up like a gate that not only I healed my headaches with the technique, but I say that I'm still healed because I shifted the way I perceive life. Because then I'm like, I'm not operating from here. Whereas before it was like, I need to understand everything. I need to plan everything. It's me doing, and, I need to make this happen. And that's exhausting. So I kind of associate that too. And then I don't have anything against the Catholic Church anymore. I don't go to churches as a practice, but I can receive the beauty, like, and understand the religions and all of that. But I consider myself a very spiritually connected person nowadays, which was not the case before.
Wow. And did you do like any kind of, certifications like Reiki, like along the way, or I don't know, course of crystals, all these courses that you have the certifications, teacher trainers, or even a yoga? Are you a yoga instructor, or how was that for you?
Well, I'm certified in bioenergetics, so that was the technique that I work with. But then I was experimenting, like Heiki. I've never done trainings, but I had sessions, and I had like Theta healing, and everything was like calling my attention. And people would come with like, I do this, and I'm like, I don't know what it is, but I would love to experience that. So then I was like opening for that, and I'm also a yoga teacher certified.
Mm-hmm.
But I practice. That's interesting, because I practice yoga since 2005, I believe. But it took me quite a long time to understand what yoga really was, because I think in the level of consciousness that I was operating, for me, yoga for a big chunk of my life was like physical exercise. Like I felt like relaxation, and I felt good about it, and my body was like, oh yes, it feels good, and I'm like, flexible in my own being. But that was it. And then many years later, I'm like, oh no, it was like with a teacher in Montreal, and she started like, there's way more. And I was tapping into the invisible through the yoga as well. And then I decided to take a certification.
Yeah, I think also it's a process with the body, right? Like it's a lot of you start with. I started also as just a body practice, just a kind of a workout, and then after a while, like I think a year or two, and then my body started to open up for the invisible, let's say, and then all the magical started begin.
Yeah, I think the body is such a small part of yoga. Like, even though it's the part that we see, there is so much more to that. And I think because I was very mental, actually, like I see yoga in many ways as an exercise for the mind through your body.
Yeah.
Like you can master your mind through your body and your breath. But if I was just living in my head, then yoga was just a physical exercise. And as you said, as I open, I'm like, oh, there's something moving here that's more than my muscles and my bones.
And I think that's the beautiful side of this process, because it's the getaway for most of people. Like for me, when I work in a yoga studio that is like how do you say franchise, Most of people, they go there just as a workout practice, and then with time they start understanding and asking questions about something beyond, the body. So it's beautiful to see. I think most of people are like that. Only if you like practice yoga in India that you're ready to go to the philosophy side, then it's gonna be a different story, right?
Yeah, I think it's the natural process in many ways. Like you go for the well-being in the body, and then once you experience something beyond the body, now you're like, it's hard to just go for this. I go for the invisible and jumping the body part, right? So I think it's kind of like people often go through this path.
You said about the somatic work also that you do, and I see this as a kind of a feminine work with the feminine energy, right? When we are doing this somatic work, kind of, this is the way I see. How was your relationship with this feminine energy in your life over the years, or the somatic work? I don't know if you see the same way as I see, but
Yeah, it's I see that I grew up, and also this mental energy is very masculine, right? So like I succeed in my career, I went to my corporate, like climbing the ladder and being successful and all of that. So I led most of my life with the masculine energy, and that led to the headaches, and that led to being successful but not feeling fulfilled. And then I like asking questions like, is this what it is? Like I wake up and then I go to work and then I come back and then I'm constantly like I'm a doer by nature, but I was like way too much in the doing and not connected to the essence of it. So then when I quit my job, I went straight to the opposite side. So I'm like, I'm going to go with the flow and I'm going to connect with my body. And I allow myself to feel the deliciousness that it is, that it's like being me. And that was like me experimenting my feminine energy. And I built a business out of this energy, right? So it's my intuition, and I accept the invitation, and I got my bioenergetic practice going and all of that. And people were like coming to me, and that was awesome. But then I got to a point and then I was actually already teaching, I call embodiment, like the radiant flow. We didn't have that name at the time, but I was already teaching embodiment. And then in that experience with myself and others, I'm like, I can't just live off one energy. So I did that with the masculine, I did that with the feminine, but then like I lacked the structure, right? Like I lacked like that focus, where I'm going, and all
to build up this business, right? Otherwise, you just want to be in the invisible, like, oh, life is so good. But what about the bills? Like, come back.
Exactly. And it's interesting because the masculine energy took me somewhere. Then the feminine energy took me somewhere. And then I'm like experimenting in my body, like, you can't just be flow, like you can't just be the essence, you can't just be the invisible, right? So then when I learned that I needed to incorporate the masculine too, which is the structure, then in the body, I would say like, kind of like the bones, right? Like it's the shape of the body that you allow the essence to flow through. That's when magic really happens. And then the somatic work and the work that I do with people is regulating their system to have the energy flowing. And it can't be just positive or negative. It can't just be feminine or masculine. It can't just be spirituality or science, right? It has to be a combination of those two charges if we truly want to flow.
How this work differentiate from the yoga practice in your vision?
I use a lot of yoga movements, but there is like more to that. But it's one, I think, is the understanding of what you are doing. So the classes that I teach, there is always a conversation, because I practiced yoga for 10, 15 years without knowing what I was doing. And it brought me relaxation and it was regulating my system, but it doesn't mean that I was creating my life conscious. And then when I understood that I could move energy in a more conscious way, but then I was using the mind. So often, like the yoga teachings that we see, or at least the ones that I participated, which is different from yours because you bring a lot of conscious to your classes as well. They are just like guiding or giving the cues to the movement and the breath. But if you understand what you're doing, there is another level of energy that enters in your field. And then if I can use that, like I like to call my mat as the life practice, I practice here to then bring what I learned here and do in real life. So then if I have the understanding, if I bring a topic, so in our community, I always bring a topic related to entrepreneurship. So we have so many fears, we have so many blocks when we decide to create a business from our heart, that it's not that the strategy is wrong, it's because it challenges your identity. But when you understand that you're being invited to a transformation, and that's what we bring to the mat, we talk about a topic that challenges people in their entrepreneurial journey, and then we create a sense of safety in the body. So instead of the trigger blocking you, now it's like, oh, I see this, I notice this energy, and I can choose to relate to that in a different way. Then that gets translated into action in your life. So you can actually go and make that invitation, you can launch your offer, you can post consistently, because your system is being regulated for that. So it has the conversation piece, and then it has bringing the energy of something that triggers you, and then intentionally moving your body in a different way, so we can create the sense of safety within.
And these classes that you offer, it's inside the sacred business community, or it's something that people like? Is it connected? It's connected, right?
Yeah. So it is. It's called Radiant Flow. So the method itself is called Radiant Flow. And then a couple of months, 2 months ago, we decided to create this as a standalone offer. So before it was just offered for our coaching community, which is a beautiful group of entrepreneurs building like very cool businesses. And we were supporting them like this. But then 2 months ago, more or less, we decided to like, hey, maybe this work is a work that more people need, because it's not necessarily like that you hold something in your heart that you're ready to take action. So we decided to bring that outside the business coaching community so people could experience that and then decide, like, Emma, do I want to pursue this business? Do I want to pursue this thing? Or maybe not. Maybe it's just something in my heart and I don't need to put a business structure into that. But then you need to have clarity, right, about it. So that's more or less what we did.
Yeah, but it's beautiful, this radiant flow with it's like a marriage. I think it's very, it's a very beautiful combination, both of them. And when do you realize that spirituality and business didn't need to be separated? When was the point that you really see this together?
I think it was when I decided to quit my job. Because it was the most painful thing I've ever done. Like, not that I've ever done. I gave birth, so this is more painful. But it was so hard. And when I decided to quit my job, it was right in the middle of the pandemic. So it was very risky. I thought I would be laid off. I wasn't, because I had a key position and my manager was like, no, you gotta stay, or you can quit. And then that thing of like, I felt like my heart being stabbed. And just to take that action, I'm like, I need to feel that. And for 3 hours, I went up to my bathtub and I was crying and feeling the pain in my heart that I'm like, I just died. Like, all the success that I had, all the group, like the peers around me, all the conversations that I know how to talk about it like this, they no longer exist. And then I understood, I'm like, this is more than just me trying to create a new business. This is me like really going to this cocoon, like the butterfly, the caterpillar thing, and transforming my life completely. Because then after that, like, my apartment was not the same, my work was not the same, the group around me wasn't the same. Then I moved countries and everything shifted. So in that moment, I'm like, I was already in this spiritual journey, and I need to follow my heart to see where it's gonna lead me. But the minute I said like, I'm out, that was the like, yes, it's harder than you think it is. It's not about building a business at all.
You're saying these things, and I remember when I quit my job, and I was already in Brazil, like you're in Brazil, getting in dollars, like, having the different life, like the rich life, let's say, And then you like, I was going to all the retreats, all the teacher trainings, everything I was doing. And then I was like, okay, now I'm gonna like, I gotta work with these things. Then, like with all the certification that I have, I gotta use this now. And I remember that it was really hit me in a way about my self-esteem, because I realized that, of course, I was like, hey, I organize myself, I plan myself, like to save money, this and that. But it's like the status that you have, like, you work for the American government, and now you're just a mentor in spirituality and yoga teacher. People don't see you in the same way, So it's like, oh, I remember my parents, like my family. It's I don't know if it's a Brazilian thing, but for them it was just like, oh my God, what are you gonna do now? You worked for so long for the government, and now we're just gonna teach yoga, and this, what is this? You're gonna work with the internet, like. And I was like, yeah, this is what I'm doing. And then I was like, okay, but my self-esteem, it can be based in the job that I have, like the money that I get, right? Especially right now that I'm in a transition. I'm just building up everything again. The knowledge is here, the power is here, and we never know what's going to happen in the future. Maybe we're going to have to reinvent ourselves again, and that's part of life.
Yeah, and it's beautiful the way you're sharing. I remember my dad, he thought I was crazy because he was very proud of the position I had, and like I was in Canada, I wasn't in the United States, but it's like I was successful through his eyes because I did this, right? And we have a sense of identity that's very connected, and we are proud of ourselves too. Not only they are proud of us, like we are proud of ourselves because we did this, right? And another thing that I think, like, I don't see a lot of people talking about, but we talk a lot within our community. Like when you go and you pursue like a career, or when you get a certification, and let's say you go to university and you're like a doctor, right? Then you leave the university, you have that certification that tells you like you are entitled to be a doctor. And then off you go. It's the beginning of your career, but you have a paper that gives you authorization to be something and to charge for something. And then when you go to create what we call your sacred business, which is, I know it's your case as well, nobody tells you that you can combine all of your gifts. There's no certification that gives you authorization to like, hey, Paola, like you could get the Kabbalah, and you could get the Tantra thing, and you could get the yoga thing, and you can make it your own, and you can get paid, and you can get well paid for that. Like, this is just not the way society teaches to live the life. And then we're like, now you have all these beautiful things, all your life experiences, and you just can't put yourself out there with pride because you don't have a certification. And this is not a conscious thing. It's unconscious, and it's in the collective, right? And a big part of the work, including like the building capacity work, is like you need to find a way to self-authorize you. And this is just a belief. Like, this is not a course that you take. This is just like ingrained in your body and in your mind. And you need to find a way to work that so you can stand up and say like, hey, I'm entitled to teach what I teach because I had this life experience, because I had this certification, and I combine, and this is the result. So people are getting result. I had result, and this should be enough. But we don't do that. Like it's very hard.
You settle for, usually you settle for less, especially if you start, like, for example, I don't know, teaching English here, and then you're gonna go to a school, and it doesn't matter if you have a master's degree in art, like in Tel Aviv or this and that. They're gonna say, okay, I'll pay you 30 reais for this, and you're just like, what? No. And then it's about your self-value, just stand up for yourself and then say, no, I value more, and then you do yours. Right.
Yeah.
Let's talk about
what qualifies your teachings. It's really you, right? Like you need to stand for yourself, and like, why am I qualified? Because I did this, I did that, and those are the results I had in my life, and I found a way to teach that to other people, and they're having that too. So if you don't do that for yourself, nobody will, and you're gonna be like playing that wheel forever and never really like having a real business or feeling fulfilled with the things that you do.
And feel the victim, right? You feel the victim all the time.
Yes.
So speaking of a sacred business, I would love for you to explain a little bit what sacred business means to you. because I think many people also associate business just with the pressure, disconnection, how you hold, and just adding on because I have so many questions for you. How would you hold the space for these many people, conversations, transformations, and what helps you feel held inside this sacred business?
So I think I own a sacred business, and for me, a sacred business is a business that comes from your heart, that is connected to all of who you are. So it brings wholeness, it makes you feel whole. So it brings you money, which is very important, but it's not the only thing. It supports the lifestyle that you want to have. So if it's online, if it's traveling, if it's in one location, so it has to support the life that you want to have, and it's aligned to your values. So for me, like a sacred business, and also like I see business, back to your question, like it's part of your transformation. So I see a sacred business as like my business grow and I evolve. And as I evolve, my business grows. So it's kind of like this combination. It's not any specific business, but it's a business that supports your lifestyle, is aligned with your values, and it's profitable. And, you know, it supports like the experiences that you want to have here.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful, beautiful. How was your process with the sacred business? We can keep this way of thought about the spirituality too, but did you ever struggle with visibility? How did you bring in spirituality into the business publicity? How was that for you and Phil? Phil, you should be here. I didn't forget you. I was just like one by one. Let's start with Carolina first.
Yeah, and then you're back here. Yeah. But basically, like going back to our story and how Sacred Business was created, I told you that I was too much into the feminine energy, right? And it led me somewhere with my business. So then I got to a point that I had to admit for myself, and my guidance was like, you need help. Like if you want to have a very successful business, it's not in your field of expertise, growing a business. Your intuition took you here, but now you need the structure. So that's how, and then Phil was already, like we met in Costa Rica. He was my client because of like some health issues that he was having and all of that. And then I'm like, when I learned what he was doing and he was supporting entrepreneurs online to grow their business, I'm like, I need your help. So then I hired him as my business coach. And as our relationship evolved and I was understanding what he was doing, and then he was experiencing my work that was reflecting on his, not only his health, but like his way of perceiving his life and his business and all of that, we got to a conclusion that like, it's fascinating that I was helping people with their intuition and emotional resilience and all of that, but I did not offer anything about strategy. And here he was offering the strategy, the tactics and all of that. And then people would get blocked. It doesn't mean that like, you know what to do, that you do. And then the reason why you don't do, it's not because of the strategy, it's because of the identity. So in that connection, we're like, what if we start supporting people in this new way that like I will, and then he sent me like a couple of his clients and like, can you do the work that you do with them and see what we can do together? And that's how I was born. I'm like, oh yes, I'm here. First, I built the structure. So he helped me to build the structure for my previous business. And then I understood the power of like, yes, there are like some marketing stuff that if I want to be visible, I need you, right? And if I want to be seen, if I want people to find me, if I want people to understand, especially if you are in this transformational coach or, you know, spirituality, it's hard to explain. Like maybe, you know, from, you know, in your mind, everything makes sense. But when you put words to that, nobody really understands. And then he like, yeah, like, you know what you're talking about, but your people, they don't understand that. So he helped me with all of that. And then Sacred Business was born after like a couple of experimentations. And you asked me also if I struggle with visibility. Not really, if I'm very, very honest, because I understood when I decided to follow my heart that I was allowing something to come through me. And I decided for myself that I would stop overthinking and I would just do what was necessary. So he was my coach and he's like, you need to do a workshop and I'm going to invite you. It was this guy. He has like a huge community, and right at the beginning of my journey, he's like, create a workshop and you're going to present to his community. And then I feel like, oh my gosh, who am I to? And then that minute I'm like, whatever, if I'm being invited and if life is calling me to do this, I just got to do it. So I kept simplicity in my mind throughout my whole journey. If I need to go live and speak about what I do, I go. Then we went to the United States for a couple of in-person, and I was like, this is like a huge group of entrepreneurs, and here I am doing meditations on stage and talking about business. Like I felt all the feelings, but I had this energy of just doing it, and I grew a lot. So I didn't give myself the time to struggle with visibility. I just decided that I would do anything that life was inviting me to.
Wow. And it's beautiful because when you align with your who you really are, and you really be proud of yourself, who you really are, and you understand your truth and live your truth, it's more easy to be out, right? And also to read the signs, like, okay, I'm nervous, or I'm, but I know that's the way. Let's fear this. Let's go. Let's just go and do it. It's beautiful. Just face it.
Yeah, and I think this is only possible because I was already working a lot in my connection with the whole, right?
Yeah.
So if we don't have that, or if this is a practice that it's isolated from your life, it's really hard, because it's like your ego kicks in and it feels that like, I want to be visible, and it's the ego. I'm like, no,
It's the ego.
The ego is exactly the one trying to protect you, and it's right. But because I was already working from that, like, this is coming through me, and we say that like a sacred business chooses you. Like I never chose yoga. Like I never chose, bioenergetic or energy healing or any, like, no, like I chose the corporate career that made sense to my mind. But those things, they showed up in my life in a way that I couldn't avoid them. And then I combined them all, and, it started becoming like a business.
Do you think that it's possible for people to become over identified with healing and self-work? And at the point, what do you think that it's the point that self-awareness stop becoming helpful for a person?
We see that a lot, actually, like especially people that are very well trained in spirituality. There's a lot of people that know a lot, but they have very little ability to apply what they know. And I think when you notice that you are speaking too much, but you can't take action from that space, like you lost the sense of existing. So if you know a lot about faith, that's great, but tell me what you do with that. Do you take risks? Right? Do you put yourself out there without being ready? Because if you don't, then your understanding about faith doesn't mean anything to me. So it's not an embodied knowledge. So and often we tell our clients, like, the first thing that you should do for people that have a lot of certifications is stop consuming. Because this is a pattern of not being enough. Like, this is what I did for myself. Like, Phil told me, he's like, you should stop going to trainings, like, for 2 years. And then all I was learning was marketing, because that was what life was like. Do you know what a funnel is? I'm like, no. So you got to learn about funnel. Do you know what a magnet lead is? And no, I don't know any, I don't know any of that. So those are things that are real. Like I needed to learn about it. But the energy here, I knew it more than enough. So I think if you catch yourself in the story and you're like, I just need one more, you're probably operating from a pattern of I'm not enough, and it's not being helpful for you to create, to find your own music, to create your own method.
Beautiful, beautiful. I know you have to end like in 5 minutes, so I'm just going to ask you the last question to close before we close. What is truly nourishing your soul right now?
There's many things, actually. We have some personal, we have some personal plans that I'm not gonna share here that are like is nourishing, that is nourishing my soul. But in the business itself, like we have like the radiant flow being open to more people, where we are leading, and like the things that we are doing to grow the business are very, very nourishing for me. Like I feel that I'm really blessed to do something that I love, and I don't do because I need to. I do because I love doing it and I want to do it. So I think, yeah, those things, there's something in terms of like family and personal stuff, but I would say that where we are with the business and where we are leading, it's very nourishing for me as well.
That's beautiful. Most of your audience, I think, is here. I mean, it's more your audience than my audience here today. Thank you so much for everyone that is here. And where can we find you for those who really want to connect with you, to do the radiant flow with you? Where can we find you? Besides also Substack, but besides Substack.
Well, basically our Substack, like love.sacredbusinessflow.com, and we have a website, the sacredbusinessflow.com as well. Radiant Flow enrollment is closed right now, but we do invite people from time to time because we are kind of like opening the container for a certain number of people. But if we feel that there is, resonance there, we could invite. So if you're listening to us or the recording and you feel that work calls you, just send me a private message here on Substack, and we can chat.
Hi, Carol. Thank you so much for this conversation. Probably going to do more if you'll be available. Thank you so much. I really admire your work, everything that you do, you and Phil. And for me, it's an honor to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the invitation. It is a topic like spirituality and business. It's like my preferred topic to talk about it. So thank you so much for having me. And thank you everyone for watching us.
Yeah, thank you to everyone for being here. And if this conversation resonates with you, don't forget to share it with someone who might benefit from it. And I will see you in the next episode of Alma Flow. Thank you so much. Bye. See you next.
Thank you. Bye.